Hey guys, it's Tara Richter, president of Richter Publishing, and I specialize in helping business owners on how to write their nonfiction story in 4 weeks and publish a book in order to make them an expert in their industry. I am here giving some of my tips and tricks about writing, editing, and the publishing industry. Since I published almost around 100 books right now, I have 12 of my own books that I've done over the last 10 years. And so like and subscribe to my page so you can get all kinds of tips and tricks. Today's topic is, what is a bestseller? I'm sure you've heard of this a lot. How do I get my book to become a bestseller? Or what exactly is a bestseller status? So I'm going to talk today about what are the two different types of bestsellers. So with Amazon coming into the play of book distribution, we have two different ways that a book can become a bestseller. There is the New York Times bestselling list, and then there's the Amazon bestselling list. So basically with the New York Times bestseller, you have to get your book first into all the bookstores, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. They still have some physical stores and other places where there's actual books sold. Then you have to outsell almost all the other books that are out there at any given point in time in order for your rankings to go up on the New York Times bestseller list. So it's kind of like a song, like a top song, when it gets to the charts. But this is about people actually physically going out to the bookstore and buying your book in more masses than any other book for you to get on top of the New York Times list. So obviously it's not a super easy feat, especially if you're not famous. How are people going to know to go out and buy your book? So that's why usually the New York Times, bestsellers are going to be really well-known people, Tony Robbins. If Rachel Ray comes out with a new cookbook, then of course, she has her television shows. So it's like, hey, my book is coming out, go out and get it. People see it on her television show and then they go out and buy it. But it's about selling as many books as you can in a short amount of time. So usually when you do like a campaign to get a book to become a bestseller, it's about pushing people to go and buy all at once. So the New York Times, like I said, once again, that is harder to do because you have to first get your book into the bookstores, where if you're self-published, you're probably not going to have your book in the bookstores. They don't usually like to sell books that are self-published, and the whole reason why they don't is because the books are non-returnable. If you just self-publish through Amazon, which used to be CreateSpace, but they bought them out, the ISBN through them is a non-returnable, because if you buy a book on Amazon, you can't return it unless there's like something, like a defect printed wrong with it. So the other type of bestseller is the Amazon bestseller list. So now this is obviously a little bit of an easier thing to accomplish versus the New York Times bestseller, because then it's just about your book ranking on Amazon. However, if you go into the Amazon listings, it's by category. So now I think they do say like which books are New York Times bestsellers. But for Amazon, it's more about the listed category that you're in, and you have to outsell everyone else in that category at any given point in time. So we'll do a screenshot here and show you when you go and look and see the rankings and the listings, you can just go and see, like which ones are bestsellers. So basically, you have to get your book on Amazon, then you have to outsell everyone else in your listed category at any given point in time. So now sometimes that's hard to do because you honestly have no idea who else is in your category other than the top 100. So in Amazon, it's, like if you hit the top 100, you're considered a bestseller. So you can literally be like number 100 in self-help and you would still be a bestseller. Obviously, it'd be better if you go up the ranks, and usually what happens is once you hit, then more people buy, and then you'll kind of go up the ranks and you'll watch it. They actually refresh the bestseller status every hour. So we do have campaigns to make our authors' books bestsellers. So it's really kind of painstaking because you do all tons of marketing and ads and email blasts and telling everyone to go out and get your book, and then you have to sit and refresh the page. of that category to see if it hits. And sometimes, of course, it hits when you're sleeping at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So, and of course, Amazon doesn't like call you up and tell you like, hey, guess what? You hit bestseller. They should, but they don't, since there's so many books coming in and out. So you have to go in and look and physically refresh it. And I can never usually even get it to come up on the app. Like I can't see the actual rankings on the app. I have to physically be at my computer and looking at the categories to see if we hit. And then of course, if you do hit, you want to screenshot that, blast it back out, because then once you hit, then more people come and buy after you hit, which is funny, you know, if they didn't before. But the other cool thing about Amazon is if you hit bestseller and it's within the first 30 days of publication, then you also go into the hot new release section. So then you'll get pulled up in more searches because, and it's only in the first 30 days. Like if you hit, 40 days after you publish, then you're not a hot new release. But if you can get to the bestseller and the hot new release, then obviously that helps you, because then your book's gonna pull up more, because there's millions of books on Amazon, So if you're not a bestseller, you're just kind of stuck in the back end when people are trying to search. Sometimes even if you search the title, it's hard to get the book to pull up. So hitting the bestseller definitely helps, because it raises you up in the searches. If someone is looking in a specific category, like a business book or a women's memoir, something like that, it's going to help pull up. Now, if you hit number 1 in your category, then you're going to get a little banner that says number 1, Amazon bestseller. That ribbon doesn't stay forever. It only stays as long as you're in the number 1 spot. So once again, if you do hit number 1, you want to screenshot that, push, promote it. These are art books that have hit bestseller. Actually, Karen Kelly's Take a Breath, which this is about a lung transplant journey. She's a doctor. This was a journey about her husband. Then we actually make these stickers ourselves. We go and have the gold embossing Amazon.com bestselling book. So then you can put that on the book when you're selling or marketing or at events later, like this was a bestseller. And this one actually continues to be a bestseller month in and month out, which is really awesome, if you can get it to hit and stay there. Lots of times if you're in a really overcrowded category, you're going to go up and you're going to go down, just like a hit song. Some of the other things we'll do is actually put the seal on the cover and then republish it. His was actually, the reason we did this is No Time to Care by Charles Kunkel. He got second place in the American Journey Nursing magazine. It was a second place book for that in 2016. So that's a really great achievement for him. So we actually put that seal on there. So now every time someone buys a book, it has that seal on it. So that's really cool. One of our best campaigns by ever far was our book Plaintiff 101 by Karen Martez here in the Tampa Bay area. And this was a book about a 4-year litigation that she went through after getting hit by a drunk driver and having to sue them and her insurance, and how she won a successful case. It's a really great book. Since it is a litigation story, we ended up having it in a category along with James Patterson, and we ended up actually outselling him in the litigation category when we launched the campaign, which was amazing. We got her book to hit number 1 in paperback, audio, and ebook. So that's the other thing, you're gonna have them hit in like different categories. So you have the paperback category, you have the ebook category. If you have an audio book, you have that, and if you have a hardback, you have that. So it's like 4 different categories that you can hit. But it was amazing because it didn't hit till we launched the campaign, we usually do around 9 a.m. on a Wednesday, and it didn't hit till 11 o'clock at night. So we were nervous that it didn't actually work out, but it did. It just, sometimes it takes a while for the sales to come through. Even though it's online and it's digital, it doesn't go and buy a book on Amazon and then immediately I don't even see the sales on the back end of it when I'm looking at stuff on the back end. But yeah, she got number 1, she pushed. him down to number 3 in the litigation category. So that was really cool. But this book was published, a few years ago. So every now and then it'll kind of come back and like pop back in and go back out. But this was like our best testimony for our Amazon bestseller campaign. But we've had other books. We've actually had about like 40 some books hit. This was another one, In Defense of Adversity. Steve Gavatorta's book hit bestseller as well. I can't remember what he got up to. Maybe it was like 2 or 3. And then the cool thing is that after his book hit, he actually had a college in his local town of Pittsburgh who wanted to actually have it in a college class, freshman level of required reading. So other cool things can happen when you hit bestseller, and then you push in and promote and market it, then other opportunities can come to you when you get that bestseller status. So it's definitely something you want to do and try and achieve, as soon as your book publishes. And then the joint book by Anthony Amos and Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. This one became an international bestseller after he published it, I think about like 4 years ago. So even if the books have been out there, they can go back and hit bestseller status again. But you really want to try to get it as soon as you publish on Amazon, so then you can get those hot new releases as well. So there you have it. There's information on how to become a bestseller and the differences between the New York Times bestseller and Amazon bestselling list. If you want any free resources about how to write and publish your book, you can go to our website, richterpublishing.com/resources. If you want to contact us about your manuscript that you want to get published, go to richterpublishing.com/contact us and ask me any questions that you'd like for me to answer in my YouTube series. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.